This is who I am. I am the manager of outreach partnerships at MathCounts. My priority is to be proactive about recruiting schools. In years past, schools have come to us and said, hey, I want to register with MathCounts. That works for schools that are really well resourced. It doesn't work as well for Title I schools who might not know about us. So that's a focus area of mine. I'm also coming to this work from the perspective of an educator. I taught for 7 years in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. So for those of you who have an educator's background, I empathize with you, and I want to do anything I can to adapt our programming to suit your needs, your classroom needs. So I'm going to go through the MathCounts mission, and then I'm going to introduce our 2 programs. You can ask yourself as I'm introducing the programs, which one might be a better fit. If you like both of them, we can make both of them work for you. And then I'll give you some demo problems so you can put yourself in the shoes of your students and experience what they would experience as a participant. And then at the very end, I'll give you the option. You could schedule a follow-up with me if you need more time and more clarity on what we offer, or you could just go ahead and sign up for MathCounts and start implementing this program immediately in your space. We already got to know some of the audience members, so I'll skip over this. I'll just say it seems like a lot of us are coming from people who are running their own after-school programs. They're administering after-school programs. If you work closely with teachers, those partnerships, those relationships are going to go a long way in helping you establish MathCounts at your campuses. And this is who we are. So we provide engaging math programs to U.S. middle school students of all ability levels to build confidence and improve attitudes about math and problem solving. Why do we focus on math? Well, as many of us well know, math is the foundation of every STEM career. You cannot go on to a pre-med program in college or become an engineer unless you have a really strong foundation in math. And so we want to build that foundation early on. And we know that this moment really needs more math enrichment, as Ellie mentioned. Even prior to COVID, our students were underperforming on the world stage. And now with the COVID slide, we really haven't quite recovered yet. So we really need to find opportunities for kids to have more at-bats with math. And we focus on middle schoolers because middle school is that really crucial identity moment in all of our lives where we decide who we are, what we want to be, and how we want to spend our time. And we've found that the students that participate in MathCounts are 85% of them are interested in taking their math through to pursue a STEM career. And almost half of them are interested in engineering. So this program really helps to build that math identity. So students say, yes, I'm a math person, as opposed to, hey, math's not for me. And the confidence and attitudes, if I could underscore one part of our mission, this is the really the number one thing for us. If students believe in themselves, if they have the confidence to take on complex problems and the willingness to do so, they become unstoppable. And 87% of MathCounts students said that after participating, their confidence in math increased. That 87% is so much more likely to sign up for that high school calculus class or to sign up for that AP STEM class, which are the prerequisites for STEM in college. So confidence and attitudes are everything. And before we go on to our 2 programs, this might be easier to answer if you work directly with students, but I'd love to know if your students are competitive, if by and large the students you interact with are competitive, enjoy competition, put a C in the chat. If they're mixture, we already have a B from Dante. They're mixture, we put a B, and if they're not competitive at all, we put an N. So I have a B and a C. Thank you, Kim. Kim students are competitive. We got B's from Carnell and Arnell. And thank you, Ty. This is exactly what I would expect. This is exactly what we saw, Ellie, on our last call. Lots of B's and C's. Very few educators interact with students that are not competitive at all, like as a cohort. And what this tells us is that if you put a C in the chat, really please tune into our competition series. If you put a B in the chat, I want you to tune in to be open to our competition series and our National Math Club. Those are our two programs. So there's something for every person in this space in what we offer. And I'm going to start off with our competition series. So this has been around since 1983. And we are the largest in-person math competition event in the country. So picture Script Spelling Bee, but math here. And we serve close to 40,000 students in all 50 states and 6 territories. This is how it works. So schools register from all across the country. Every school that registers a coach. And a coach could be a teacher, it could be an after-school coordinator. The one ask we have is that it is the competition team is specific to one campus. So if you are serving students from multiple campuses and they're coming to one site, that would complicate your registration. But if you are serving at each campus students from that school, you could 100% establish a competition team in your after-school program. And the coach will hold practices sometime. It's totally up to them. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe it's twice a month. Maybe it's during school. Maybe it's after school. And they will hold their own in-school competition prior to January. Then they'll decide, of all their participants, which 12 will we bring to chapters. Chapters is the most local competition of, and then the top students from the chapter will advance to states. Now, states is really rigorous. Only the top 4 individuals from every state get an all expenses paid trip to nationals here in Washington, D.C. It's a really festive and fun event. Our big engineering firm sponsors are there. Department of Defense is there. We have a Jeopardy style countdown round with an MC and a banquet for students. It's just a whole lot of fun that happens in May. So that's kind of the culminating event. But there's so much that happens leading up to May. We have so many schools, even the ones that don't make it to nationals, return to us every single year because the in-school, the chapter, and the state competitions are just so much fun. And as a coach, if you register, we give you access to all these resources. So we don't want teachers doing any extracurricular planning. We know you're giving up enough of your time. You're giving up an hour a week to show up for kids. We don't want you to have to lesson plan. So we give you all the materials you need, which includes online materials, so mini lessons, past competitions. We give you a handbook with brand new problems every single year that are created by our director of education. And I've even had coaches who are math teachers tell me they use the MATHCOUNTS problems in their regular instruction. So the problems are so thoughtful that they can be applied in the general education curriculum. And it's all standards aligned, no matter which state you're coming from. Now I'm shifting over. This is for the B's in the chat. The people who say, okay, not all my students are interested in competition. This is our National Math Club, and it's lower stakes. So we provide educators the structure, the resources, and the incentives to make it easy to run their own informal math club. You decide how often you meet. You decide as the club leader if you're going to pursue a year-long project, and it really varies campus to campus. And we provide honors for clubs that go above and beyond in terms of how often they meet and how far they take their club. And this is the dashboard for club leaders. So The club leaders, they log on to our online dashboard. This is updated once a month. So every month you're getting a new game, you're getting new explorations, you're getting new problem sets, you're getting challenge questions. And so you will never run out of new materials. Here's a game example. And now I'm gonna just pause for a second and ask you to put on your student hat and embrace whatever association you have with math, whether it be positive or negative. Just I want you to fully embody that attitude. And we're gonna solve a problem together that would show up on a sprint round. So the sprint event is one of 4 competition events. We see at every competition. You have 40 minutes to solve 30 problems, no calculator. So no phones for this. If you want to grab a pencil and some scrap paper to write it out, you can. I'm saying this because I want you to feel a time crunch. I want you to feel a little bit of pressure to come up with something quickly. And most importantly, I'm asking a lot of you. I'm asking you to solve a math problem, but I also want you to detach yourself from the mathing and listen to your internal dialogue. What are you saying about yourself as you are problem solving? What are you saying about the program? Maybe you're saying, this is not middle school math. I didn't learn algebra in middle school. What's pay attention to that internal dialogue. I know when I first saw this problem, I felt insecurity. Great. We're pro no calculator. That's great. Mental math people. Here we go. So check in with your internal dialogue. And as we problem solve, I want to kind of come back to what's going on in your mind. What are your attitudes about math in the moment? So here's the problem. Flash it on the screen. I'll give you about 30 seconds to start solving. See some pencils moving. Looks like Crystal's in the zone. Looks like Carnell's in the zone. Ellie's working. Looks like Kim's working away on this. And it's okay. Okay, we got an answer from Dante already. If you have an answer, throw it in the chat. If you don't have an answer, that's okay. I'm assuming that most people right now have at least started to approach the problem. Thank you, Kim. See some people. If you've at least started to solve the problem, you have enough for us to engage with. So I'm going to have you put down your pencil for a second. Oh, we have a revised answer. So I'm going to have you put down your pencil for a second because I know it's tempting to keep working. I'm just curious to know how many people, just give me a thumbs up on your screen. Thumbs up on your screen if you attempted to solve for X. Give me a thumbs up. Crystal solved for X. I can't see from everybody. You can put a thumbs up in the chat if you solved for X. It's okay if you didn't. I'm just curious. I know when I first saw this problem, I attempted to solve, Arnell solved for X. Ellie cheated a little bit from the last session. Eric solved for X. Okay. Totally understandable. That's our algebra brains kicking in. That's the kind of the rote approach that I learned in school when I'm given a problem with an unknown variable. Solve for X. Now, I'm reminding you, you have 40 minutes to solve 30 problems. This is a whole lot of math with some room for error here. So if you solve for X and then you plug X back in, you get 277. But at the expense of a lot of lost time. Now, what if I were to tell you that we can think about this logically. Let's just take a look here at these two different expressions. We have 3x plus 155, 3x plus 160. I know that 3x plus 155 is 272. Now, what do I notice when I compare 60 to 155? Well, there's a difference of 5. So what if I just add 5 to 272? I get the same answer. I haven't had to do all of this paperwork. And I get to an answer a lot faster using a totally different approach. So it's this type of thinking that Math Counts really brings out in students. It's the creative side of math. I always thought math is linear. There's one way to solve a problem. If you don't know how to solve the problem that way, you're out of luck. False. There are many different approaches to solve a math problem. And depending on the circumstance, one might be better than the other. Now, I want you to check back in with your internal dialogue. How are you feeling about yourself, about math, about, you don't have to answer this in the chat. I just want you to check in with yourself. Are you crumpling up your paper, throwing it in the trash can? This is a really crucial moment. This is the moment when we step in and when we encourage students and when we celebrate those alternative methods and when we celebrate the errors. And the student that came up with the faster solution may benefit from seeing the algebraic approach and vice versa. So the frustrations that come boiling up in the face of challenging problems, that's what we also coach students on grappling with. And that's what we coach students on overcoming. And it transfers over really smoothly in the general ed classes, and students pick that confidence up in their regular day-to-day math class. So I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to take you to the Math Club. This is the National Math Club. This is for the students that are less competitive, or it's for the educators or after-school coordinators that just want to throw in some fun activities at the end of the week. So here's a game we're going to play. It's called Multi-Digit War. And this time I'm going to allow calculators if you're not into mental math. Eric, I'm just catching up in the chat. Eric, don't be hard on yourself. That's what we're trying to overcome the harsh talk. It has nothing to do with age. So multi-digit war, you do it with a deck of cards. So just keep in mind, your students are playing this game in person, not virtually. So bear with me. They're doing this unless you're working with your schools in Haiti, Carnell. You could totally do this game virtually. If you're doing it in person, it would feel a little bit different. It would feel maybe a little bit more interactive. They have a deck of cards. You could do it with printouts if you don't have a deck of cards. All of our materials are readily accessible. So the teacher displays 3 cards every round, and you decide how you're going to combine those cards to form numbers and ultimately a product. So you can arrange these numbers however you want. You're going to create a 2-digit number, and you're going to multiply it by a single-digit number to obtain the largest possible value. So in this case, I combined the 5 with the 4 for 54 times 7 got me 378. I could alternatively have combined 7 and 4, 74 times 5. I could also have written 45 times 7. Now, the question is, will the product of those exceed 378? We'll find out. So here's our first round. 3, 9, 8. Now, for this round, I want you to put in the chat single-digit number or double-digit number times single-digit number. You don't have to put your full product. I'm interested in knowing what is your 2-digit number, what is your single-digit number, so you can check the chat if you want to see what I mean. I got 98 times 3 83 times 9. 98 times 3. 93 times 8. All right, that's enough. That's enough to reveal. So the greatest product comes when we multiply 83 times 9. 747. I challenge everyone to try and exceed 747. Here's the next question. 573. You're going to form a 2-digit number multiplied by a single-digit number. Put your numbers in the chat. You don't have to write the product. Just put your numbers in the chat. Okay, we got 53 times 7 from Sandra. We got 73 times 5, 75 times 3, 57 times 3. So this is where I would say it's totally up to you if you want to give kids a calculator, totally up to the facilitator. And if we were to actually complete each of these expressions, we would find that 53 times 7 yields the greatest product. Yields the greatest product. So I'm seeing some reactions. I'm curious to know. We'll do one more. And if you're 2-0, if you've gotten both of them right, I'm going to challenge you, Eric. I'm looking at you. I'm going to challenge you to come up with a rule. Maybe you have a rule that gets you the highest product every single time. So think about that as you're solving the last problem here. 64 times 7 from Kim. 64 times 7 from Dante. Okay, maybe we'll, okay, well, a lot more consensus on this. There's a lot more consensus on this. So 64 times 7, indeed the correct value. If I had guessed by the consensus, more than one person maybe has figured this out. 2 lowest times highest. So Sandra, do you mean what the 2 lowest here would be 4 and 6? What if I did 46 times 7? Can we refine Sandra's? Sandra says 2 lowest times highest. How do I know if it's the 4 or the 6 that comes first? Okay, okay. Here we go. We got high digit in tens place. Highest value of the 2 lowest first. That's Ellie's saying the same thing as Carnell. Largest number is the multiplier. The second largest number goes in the highest digit position of the quantity being multiplied. Highest to the lowest first. So we're all saying the same thing. And we've come up with a rule collectively. So this is, sure, we had hopefully you had fun playing the game. That's part of it. But the debrief is where the real meaningful learning happens. So you all collectively just came up with a rule that applies in every single situation. No teacher was involved in saying, here's the rule, now implement it. Completely created by the students. I could alternatively, I could change the rules on you. We could play another round. This time I could say, come up with the smallest product of these 3 numbers every single time. So I could change the rules on you. I could add a card. I could give you 4 cards instead of 3. Or if your students are maybe struggling with coming up with the product value, I could remove cards 5 through 10. So it's a little bit more approachable. I can differentiate up or I can differentiate down depending on the skills that we're trying to train or depending on the ability level of your students. So there's so many ways to scale this game. And so many conversations, so many follow-up conversations to be had. And you could even use this as a conversation. You could say, hey, we're going to put the calculators away. We're going to put the calculators away, and we're going to try and do this in our heads, mental math. And there are ways that you can dissect these the multiplication so that you can use mental math instead of a calculator. So we're coming to towards the end of the presentation. I'll just share the National Math Club. The game that I just shared with you all is free for everyone. It's free for everyone. I can show you how to register for that. No harm in signing up. In the very least, even if you don't use the materials every day, even if you meet once a semester, you at least have those games in your back pocket if you're trying to do something academic with kids and you don't want it to feel like school. So National Math Club is a wonderful resource. Then the competition series, it depends on where you are working. So if you are in Baltimore City schools, it is free. There's a grant from 3M that makes that possible. So we have one of our sponsors is the company 3M, and they allow us to, in target regions, we get to make the competitions free. If you're a Title I school outside of Baltimore, I know we have schools here from Howard County. If you're a Title I school from outside of Baltimore, it's just $15 per student with a $150 cap. Let me tell you what that means. So you can have a maximum of 12 students registered on your competition team. We are giving 2 students free if you register before November 1st. So you are getting 12 students registered for the price of 10. That applies for non-Title I schools as well. $30 per student, $300 cap. Now, if you decide, hey, I don't know if this is going to work in my community yet, or I'm still a little bit skeptical, but I want to learn more. I want to see what these materials are like. If you register just one student, you have access to all of the online resources, the dashboard, and you can always register more students later. So you don't have to have a team of 12 to engage with the materials and to participate. Some of our teams are smaller. Some of our teams might have 6 students. And then some of our teams have way more than 12, but they show up to compete with 12. So this is the competition series and the math club. You can do both as well. And many schools will do both just to get the additional resources. All right, so I'm going to share a QR code. This is a way you can fill out our interest form, regardless of where you are on the spectrum. Here's a link as well. I'm going to drop another link in the chat for the same form. Regardless of where you are in terms of your interest level, in the very least, please fill out the form. I can follow up with you one-on-one if you're saying, hey, my program is unique. It's a unique model and maybe requires some adjustments on our end. I want to do that for you. So we can always have a one-on-one follow-up meeting. So please fill out the interest form here, and it's the same information on this page as well. I'll just share. Here's my contact information if you want to just email me directly. And thank you all so much for participating. I hope. Looks like we're ending a little bit early, so I want to open up the floor to Q&A. I can linger for however long is necessary to answer individual questions or group questions.
Thank you so much, Jim. This was really fun, first of all, to do a little math in the afternoon, use my brain. Do folks have questions for Jim while you have him here? I really do encourage everybody to fill out the form. Also, I am dropping the registration link for our Math Lights On event in the chat. But we're here, as Jim said, to linger and take your questions and comments. Don't all go at once.
Hey, Ellie, this is Eric.
Yep.
Um, I just want to say thanks for it, and Jim, I was not crying, that I didn't figure this out yet, but I thought it was quite funny. But I wanted to bring up that one of the things that we're doing with the Maryland STEM education ecosystem is that we were trying to look at things to spark people. So I wanted folks to know that the first few number of schools or organizations that register the Maryland STEM ecosystem and part of DoD STEM is going to offer some swag gifts to those schools that register with by I think November the 6th was the date we talked, or November the 4th, whatever that Friday is. So I'll work with you, Jim, to figure out who those schools are that register that. But we want to help out to kind of give them some swag and things like that. Maybe some shirts for the teams that are doing that. And and Ellie, if you can share if there's a need for any other support at your event on the 26th from students participation. Maybe there's some schools here that have some students that want to get involved. So just want to put that out there. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
And Jim, just to for our folks that are fully community based that aren't necessarily attached to schools, they can still register, use the club materials and register teams, correct?
Definitely. So you could register as a club. As far as the teams go, I would recommend that if you are working directly with teachers or with program facilitators that are with students every day, I love to connect with you to either talk to those facilitators directly because ultimately they're the ones who are carrying out the program. I'd be happy to talk to them directly, or you have the materials to have them register directly. It's kind of however the director decides to proceed, but we can make it work in any setting.
Hi, this is Sandy Adams. We have a community group called STEM CX, and I have a little familiarity with MATHCOUNTS because my daughter, she was on a MATHCOUNTS team a long time ago. And my issue with it at that time, and I don't know if they had the math club and the competition, she was a part of the competition, is that for her, because so much of the focus was on mental math, it really sort of worked against her as far as her math confidence. She is very much a sort of methodical, analytical student, and she needed to work through problems. And many of the people, that her team was competing against, at least, were very into mental math, and the program was very into mental math at that time. And so for her, it wasn't really a confidence booster. It took her confidence away. And so I like the fact that you have the math club as well, but I just wondered if you can sort of speak to the difference in learning style for students and how, in these, particularly in the competition arena, when you're up against students who are really strong in mental math, if there's any sort of work being done to try to help the students who sort of learn a different way.
Yes. Thank you for that feedback, Sandra. And so I'll say that the way that the program can't necessarily dictate how coaches facilitate every practice. So that we provide coaches with materials. We can't tell them what to prioritize in the actual sessions, or how to explicitly coach. What we can do is we can incentivize how the competitions run. So the countdown round, we have four events. We have the countdown, which is kind of like Jeopardy, kind of mental math speed. The target round, or the sprint round, which you participated in, which was the 30 problems, 40 minutes, no calculator. Also, maybe there's some mental math, at least in operations. And then there are two other rounds. There's the team round and there's the target round. The team round is more collaborative, so teams of 4, and it's groups of students working to solve problems. And there is a calculator that's allowed. And then there's the target round, which is much more in depth. So it's fewer problems, but you have more time per problem. And each individual problem has layers. So to get to the solution, you have to unlock the answer to a problem within a problem within a problem. So if you're a student, it sounds like your daughter is the kind of student that likes to spend more time really focusing on one problem and really getting in, uncovering those layers. I would, if I were her coach, I would like to recognize that strength, and I would like to, encourage her to really to represent the team in the target round. So the program is designed to really tap into a variety of strengths, and that's just to give you a sense of the program design.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this was, she's 30 now, so this is many, many years ago, and she did indeed thrive in the rounds where, she was able to walk, on the problems. The problem was the focus of those competitions at that time, and this may be very different, was not on that. It was on, sort of the attention went toward the people who were incredibly fast on the mental math end. So while she still did well in the parts that she thrived in, she still came away from those competitions feeling, with her level of confidence increasing.
Awesome.
So, and again, I know decreasing, and I know that, that depends on the coach and everything.
Yeah.
And I really do like the idea of the math club, with our program. But I just know my personal experience anyway was that the math counts just didn't work for her.
Hey Jim, that makes a question that I want to ask. So from a coach's support, if I had such a challenge, what is available from MathCounts on an ongoing basis in terms of advising and guiding? Because maybe presenting that problem or something may have been an opportunity to share with the coaches. Hey, this is how you break up your team. This is how you might want to focus on them. Is that available as part of this program?
So we do and I can't speak to I can't speak to how the program operated when I was in middle school, but I can say that presently every new coach that registers gets a weekly new coaches email. So in that email, it's walking new coaches through how to use the resources, but also through building the appropriate culture. So creating a space where building confidence is a greater priority than competition success, or how to develop skills more broadly rather than focusing just on one particular, like mental math, for example. So the new coach weekly emails are designed to really help coaches get established and figure out what to prioritize. And then there are also coordinators. So every region, the competition is run by an engineer through the National Society of Professional Engineers. They allow us to serve so many students because they're volunteering. So the coordinators have a lot of experience working with different schools. I've personally done a lot of work connecting experienced coaches with brand new coaches, because I try to get feedback from both ends. So we do have a lot of supports for new coaches to really help them make the best use of their time to serve students to the fullest.
Jim, quick question. Do you have any schools where this is actually being implemented now, either in the DMV area that, I would like to actually visit and kind of see this at work? Maybe we can connect offline and you can get me that so I can just, get a chance to see it, directly.
Yes, I will. I'm going to get in touch, Carnell, with our DMV coordinator, our DC. Would you prefer DC, Maryland, or Virginia? Which part of the DMV is easiest for you?
Probably Maryland would be easiest for me, but also I can, go other way. DC, Virginia,
Okay.
whatever works.
Maryland as in like PG, or as in like how?
So more Baltimore, the Baltimore
Baltimore?
metropolitan area,
Okay.
that would be
Okay.
great. Or even if it's PG County, wherever it is, I'll get there.
So what I can do is I can get in touch with the coordinator, and then we can find a program where you could show up to a practice and
Okay.
actually see how it goes down.
Awesome.
So for sure, I can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Arnell says she's interested in visiting a site, and I would be too. So
Okay.
if you want to create a little field trip for
Okay.
us, we can.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be
Yes.
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, I would like that as well. I'd love to see how they're doing that, implementing it in the school.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if anybody is not in Baltimore City, like if you're in a different county, I can try and find a coach or a team in that county that is a little bit more accessible. So if you have a preference, you can make it known in the chat. I think Ellie will follow up with an email with contact information so that once I get approval from the school, then I can just follow up with everybody.
Yep. What we're gonna do at the sometime either later today or tomorrow is we'll send out the slide deck, the recording, your contact information, Jim, the 2 flyers that you gave me, and then I will write a little note that if you're interested in a field trip, that we'll convene that group and we'll figure out what the best way to do that is.
Perfect.
Can I ask one more question about level? So let's say your student is not on the grade level that, other students, she's in the 4th grade, but she's not on the 4th grade level. Does the coach have the ability to sort of reach down to whatever level they can to bring the student up, or are you sort of locked into the grade that the student is in?
So what I can say is that the materials are meant to be scaled up or scaled down. So a coach that is inclusive, that wants everyone to feel like they can access the competition, or let's just say, for example, your team is mostly 6th graders and they're going up against 8th graders, and they haven't even faced the 8th grade curriculum yet. This is what another coach mentioned to me. That coach can take the materials from the handbook and scale down so that the students can access. It's the same. They can access the material, but with more scaffolded supports. So a really effective coach is going to take advantage of the scalability of the differentiation that is inherent in our curriculum, so that they can build up that student's confidence.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim, just to be clear about the levels, this is largely middle school, right?
Entirely middle school, 6 through 8. Mm-hmm.
I had one last question. Is the curriculum tied to any national math standards at all?
Yeah, so the curriculum, the organization was founded by the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. So that's like the overarching body of math teachers. And all of our standards, all of our materials are aligned to the NCTM standards. They're also aligned to Common Core. Now, I know Common Core is controversial. Some people hate it, some people love it. But the reason why we're Common Core aligned is because even if you have a state-specific standard, the Common Core is the most adaptable. So we can pair every Common Core standard with every Maryland state standard. And so we want our curriculum to be relevant in every single state. The Common Core is kind of like the lingua franca, like the language that all the states speak through, if that makes sense. And we're 100% Common Core aligned.
Any last questions for Jim until we give you back maybe a few minutes before you go on to your next Zoom? I know I have one at 1 o'clock because that's the way the world works these days. Shoot away. We got a couple minutes left. Or you can look for all these materials coming from me. Again, I'll send the recording. Jim has a couple, handouts that have just basic information on them. This slide deck, Jim, if you will send that to me.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that separately you'll have Jim's contact information and that link to the form in that email as well. So
Yeah.
anything.
And I take calls with coaches and school district leaders all day long. So I would be more than happy to have a separate kind of individual call with you to learn more about your specific organization and how we can adjust it for you. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if you want to talk more specifically about your the organization that you serve.
And I'm going to push my math event on the 26th again one more time. Link is in the chat. And folks, feel free to share this information with your networks. Just because you attended today doesn't mean that you don't know 3 other people who might find this information useful. That is why we're here. If you can send them to us, you can send them to Jim if they missed the webinar.
A little bit more to you. Yeah, thanks.
We'll definitely connect them up with the information.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Carnell. Thanks everyone for
Yes.
attending.
Thank you very much, Jim and Ellie.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal.
All right.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a good one.
Everybody knows where to find
Thanks,
us.
Sandra. Thanks, Arnell.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Like
Thank
I said,
you, Ellie.
I'll follow up on all this with folks and hopefully we'll have some takers.
Yes, really appreciate it. Thanks for keeping us in front of mind, and I'll be in touch. I'll send you some follow-up materials from today.
Right.
All
Thank
right,
you for
take
a
care,
great
everyone.
presentation, Jim.
Thanks, Crystal. Have a good one.
You
All right,
too.
bye guys.